Open your eyes.
If you are wondering why everything going on in the world feels so terribly off, then you have come to the right place. A veil has been put over the eyes of humanity. Evil people in high places have been hiding the truth in plain sight and building a false reality on lies and deception for far too long. And now, their time is coming to an end. It's time to fight back, to wake up, and to begin an uprising. Now is a time for judgment.
This is a time for judgment. Welcome to today's show. We've all been aware and talking about gene editing, how they're experimenting with gene editing. I can't say what I really want to say, but we all know how they're experimenting with gene editing. And I've also talked a lot about not just manipulating genes and genetic codes, but about this mindset of being immortal, living forever, beating death. And of course, reversing aging. I've talked about all of the subliminal things that they're doing, right? Vampire facials, telling you that you should do blood transfusions with young children's blood. These are all things that are in not like crazy blogs that people post. These are in places that people go for information. We're talking like National Geographic. We're talking like, science magazines. All those types of things that people look at and think it's definitively 100% accurate and they should try. Because again, we live in a society where you kind of look around, you go, who in the world would want to live forever in this nightmare? But the zombies and the people who don't believe in God fear death. People like us do not fear death. We are more than ready to actually begin our lives in death through the blood of Jesus Christ. But look at these articles that have come out in the last couple of days. Scientists reprogrammed mice's genes to live longer, and it worked. And CNN also pushing this, same title almost, aging can be reversed in mice. Are people next? In Boston labs, old blind mice have regained their eyesight, developed smarter, younger brains, and built healthier muscle and kidney tissue. On the flip side, young mice have prematurely aged with devastating results to nearly every tissue in their bodies. The experiments show aging is a reversible process, capable of being driven forwards and backwards at will, said anti-aging expert David Sinclair, professor of genetics in the institute, I think I might as well say Bolshevik, but Blavatnik Institute at Harvard Medical School and co-director of the Paul F. Glenn Center of Biology of Aging Research. And by the way, always notice that this is at Ivy League schools. Ivy League schools are completely controlled institutions. That's where a lot of, you hear the stories, you've seen it in movies, right? Where everyone's like, oh, that's only fiction. Oh, I got into Harvard because my dad was a right? In some secret society. It's always these schools, though, in these articles, because when you hear Harvard, you hear Princeton, you hear Columbia, you hear Stanford, automatically it gives credit, the story becomes credible because those are trusted those are trusted institutions. If you heard it was, the Arizona online school, you know what I mean? Not to make fun of anyone who's done that, but you get my point, right? Oh, I got my diploma online. No, they use these schools because they want you to think, oh, this is really happening. This is legit. These are smart people. They're so much smarter than I'll ever be. And really, they're just dabbling with magic and things that no human being should be doing. So on the record, I'd also like to state that the guy who said forwards and backwards at will, you could drive aging, is an anti-aging expert. How do you become an anti-aging expert? I mean, what? Can somebody tell me? Do you go to school for this? Do you just declare this? I mean, we certainly have a lot of people who claim to be doctors who aren't. But I mean, do we just declare you're an anti-aging? You know what? I'm an expert in aging. I'm an aging expert. I know all about it. I could write a book on it. You get older, muscles get sore, you get more tired, your hair turns white, right? Right? I mean, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Anti-aging expert. So it says our bodies hold a backup copy of our youth that can be triggered to regenerate, said Sinclair, the senior author of a new paper showcasing the work of his lab and international scientists. The combined experiments, published for the first time Thursday in the journal Cell, challenge in scientific belief aging is the result of genetic mutations that undermine our DNA, creating a junkyard of damaged cellular tissue that can lead to deterioration. He said it's not junk, it's not damage that causes us to get old, said Sinclair, who described the work last year at Life Itself, a health and wellness event presented in partnership with CNN. He said, we believe it's a loss of information, a loss in the cell's ability to read its original DNA so it forgets how to function. In much the same way an old computer may develop corrupted software. I call it the information theory of aging. So they're pretty much telling you that they know more than God, that they're more equipped than anyone out there because they're so smart that they figured this out. But what they're not telling you is that they're manipulating your genetic code. They're trying to coat this in a way where they're like, no, we're just giving your body an upgrade. You might be mixing iron and clay and become transhuman and a mutant and live forever and regret it, but we're here to help. Come join us. Jim Hun Yang, not Wang Yang, a genetics research fellow in the Sinclair lab who co-authored the paper, said he expects the findings will transform the way we view the process of aging and the way we approach the treatment of diseases associated with aging. Epigenetic changes control aging. That's epigenetic changes. I'm saying it slow so you remember this because this is something you're going to hear a lot about. While DNA can be viewed as the body's hardware, the epigenome is the software. Epigenes are proteins and chemicals that sit like freckles on each gene, waiting to tell the gene what to do, where to do it, and when to do it. It sounds really familiar to something else. I won't say what, but I'm sure you're all thinking the same thing. The epigenome literally turns genes on and off. That sounds safe. That process can be triggered by pollution, environmental toxins, and human behaviors such as smoking, eating an inflammatory diet, or suffering a chronic lack of sleep. And just like a computer, the cellular process becomes corrupted as more DNA is broken or damaged. The cell panics and proteins that normally would control the genes get distracted by having to go and repair the DNA. Something we just heard a lot about. Then they don't all find their way back to where they started. So over time, it's like ping pong, where the balls end up all over the floor. So in other words, the cellular pieces lose their way home, much like a person with Alzheimer's. The astonishing finding is that there's a backup copy of the software in the body that you can reset. So great. They could just reset us, like the Great Reset. They could reset us, by resetting our DNA, our genetic code, manipulating it, editing it, right? That's what they're telling you. And once your genetic code is edited, you're no longer you. And we've heard Klaus Schwab even say that, right? So once your genetic code is edited, you're not you anymore, and you're no longer human anymore. And this has to do with the mark of the beast. And some people are like, well, the mark of the beast, can't you take it and still be forgiven? Not when you're not human anymore. You're no longer God's creation. You're now a creation of this world by allowing people to manipulate and edit your DNA. And trust me, it's already going on. We all know that. So Obviously, these types of experiments, this one is scientists at the San Diego-based biotech company, Rejuvenate it's called, claim they've increased the age of mice by reprogramming their genes. They believe their gene therapy actually works like a reverse aging technique that one day might be used for rejuvenating humans. The researchers introduced 3 reprogramming genes into mice that had a remaining lifespan of 9 weeks. Interestingly, the mice survived for 18 weeks after the gene therapy, so double. Right? So you can already see how they'll market that. Double your lifespan. Woo! I can't wait to turn 140. Barely, have to wear a diaper because, we're not guaranteeing those types of things, but you'll still be alive. You might be a vegetable, but can't wait to turn 140 and see all the stuff that they're doing in the schools then, right? Oh my goodness. So the mice survived 18 weeks. The tested mice were the same as 77-year-old humans who had, before the gene therapy. So before the gene therapy, they were equivalent to 77-year-olds. Their lifespan increased by about 7% after the introduction of the genes. According to the Rejuvenate Bio team, the percentage can be improved by further research and might even allow us to increase the lifespan of elderly people. They say the secret to increasing the lifespan of mice is when individual mature cells are exposed to proteins or genes, spike proteins, or genes that are found in early embryonic stages. They start behaving like young stem cells. This process is called genetic reprogramming. Japanese researcher Shinya Yamanaka came up with this intriguing gene therapy approach and was awarded the Nobel Prize. I'm sure he was. Many scientists the people who win those prizes are the sickest people probably. We can't even imagine the stuff that they're really doing. They only tell us these things when they're preparing to roll it out, but they're so far ahead. I mean, probably playing basketball with human heads that are still alive at this point, this type of stuff they're doing behind closed doors underground. But anyway, many scientists in the past have shown that cells can rejuvenate through gene therapies that involve reprogrammed genes. So you see these trigger words here? Reprogramming genes, editing genes, live longer, double your lifespan. They're working it. These 2 articles are separate articles that came out in the same week. They're not the same article. One from CNN, one from another engineering website. The stories are out there because this is the stuff that scientists are doing. And this is one of the triggers that they're going to constantly push. Remember, they've created a narcissistic society. We live amongst narcissists. People who literally spend their day focusing, they will never admit to it because that's a true narcissist, but they spend their day focusing on thinking ahead of time what they're going to post on social media, how it's going to look, how can they look great. These are signs of narcissism. This is what social media has created. We need to snap people out of it, but it doesn't seem to be happening. It seems to be getting worse and worse. So when you have a narcissistic society, it's going to be easy to market immortality to them. It's going to be easy for Christians to get duped by this because they're going to say, well, God doesn't say we're supposed to die. God, it doesn't say, they're doing it to our DNA, but it doesn't say mark of the beast on the packaging. It only says 666, or it only goes in my wrist or my forehead. But I mean, they'll fall for it. People will fall for it. It'll be a real test for a lot of lukewarm Christians. It won't be a test for me. I'm good. Anti-aging? No, thank you. I don't want to say speed up aging sounds better, but, the stuff that's going on, the stuff we allow scientists to do, that's what should be, talked about on the news, questioning what's allowed, what's not allowed, what's moral and what's immoral. But we don't talk about that. We look at everything we hear from science, not us, but society does, and they marvel at it, and they think it's an incredible thing, and it's a gift, and it's an advancement, and it's helping humans live, all that stuff. The only stuff they talk about on the TV is how they could divide people amongst politics and everything else and create civil unrest and create false flags left and right. Well, this stuff just continues to get rolled out. People continue to get desensitized. They hear these stories and that's great. I can't wait. Like I talked about with the vampire facial when Kim Kardashian did it. It's become more and more normal, right? The other things that these celebrities promote. Gwyneth Paltrow is talking about something. I did a video a long time ago. I think they took it down, so I wouldn't even mention it. But selling something like a body part in a jar, just disgusting, vulgar, occult stuff. And this goes right along with it. They're now telling you that they're going to reprogram you. But then they go, oh, no. It's rejuvenation. It's gene reprogramming. Yeah, I'm pretty good. Even if you don't look at it from the DNA standpoint, do you want to be reprogrammed? We wish that people out there had their brains reprogrammed, but they're literally talking about resetting you. Those are some of the trigger words used there. You're going to reset your whole body. Oh, great. I can be a Stepford wife now. I mean, it's insanity. I thank you guys for being here. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. And as always, God bless all of you and your families.